All right. Early stream today, guys. I wanted to hop on and play some videos for you guys that I thought were pretty entertaining stuff. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I'm just going to be honest. Personally, I don't really care too much about gossip. I don't really care about, you know, these NBA executives, who they hook up with. Doesn't affect my life at all. I don't really give a shit. But what I do find interesting is just the kind of like woke narrative that's happening here because it's kind of a comes back to the culture that we're kind of living in right now where believe all women men are evil, and it's kind of playing out here in real time. So I got these two clips for you guys today. One is between Malika Andrews, who I never heard of until yesterday. She's apparently like an ESPN commentator, and she basically said some really stupid things on a call with Stephen A. Smith. That's right. Everything woke does turn to shit with Stephen A. Smith, and he shut her down. And I thought it was a really interesting way that he handled it, and it makes a lot of sense. And I'm just going to give you guys like my thoughts as we play these videos. So let me pull in the first video. Let me make sure the audio's working. Make sure the volume's on. All right, we're good to go. So this is between Stephen A. Smith, who I met before at a Knicks game. He was sitting next to me in the crowd before the game. We got there early, and he was there just hanging out in the audience a few hours before the game started. And I was able to say a few words to him. This is probably like 10, 15 years ago. All right, here we go.
Stephen A., with all due respect, this is not about pointing the finger. Stop. What became apparent to me in this press conference is that we do not have all of the information here. And it was frustrating to me that the Celtics declined to elaborate or to give more specifics about what exactly the rule breaking was that led us to this point. So that I just want to get that out of the way first. But to answer your question, Molly, I think what stood out to me, I think what stood out to me is that Brad Stevens, he was upset. That's what stood out to me about what he termed rampant Twitter BS is the word that he used, that women were unfairly dragged into this within the Celtics organization. You could see that Brad Stevens was visibly upset about this. And I also found that to be gross and unnecessary, that folks were bringing in the names and the images of women that is just not a fact. It was purely speculation.
So for those of you who don't know, Cloud, leave it. Hold on, guys. My dog just took a little poop because everything woke turns to shit. Oh my God. Hold on, guys. I got to go throw this down the toilet. That's a really stinky one, Cloud. We'll deal with that later. Damn, Cloud, that's nasty. All right, back to the stream. So what they're talking about is people on Twitter are speculating, who the woman was that Ime Udoka had the relationship with. And, we speculated on my channel yesterday. There's a lot of people that are speculating. But what do you expect happens when you come out with a bombshell story that a head coach who took his teams in the NBA Finals, mind you. This guy's a very successful coach. He didn't win, but he did take him to the finals, which was very, very impressive. What do you think is going to happen? People are going to try to figure out who the woman was, who the woman was part of the affair. Because from our understanding, this relationship was consensual. It was Ime Udoka and a woman who both agreed to being into this consensual relationship. So, it's like people are going to try to piece that together. What'd you expect? So I don't think that's a big deal for people speculating. That's just kind of what happens on the internet when they don't have full information.
And so to me, that is what stood out. But the Celtics as an organization could have done more. And short of doing more ahead of this yesterday, they could have owned that responsibility in this press conference. I understand that there were legal parameters that they had to operate within for everybody involved. And I appreciate the fact that they brought in outside counsel and did a thorough organization. And I think that that is something that was clearly necessary in this situation. But the fact that it was able to go on all day, the fact that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, We are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women.
Yo, this is kind of like a two-tier justice system. Malika Andrews sounds comfortable with Ime Udoka getting suspended, but then says the women involved in the story, the one woman involved, should not have any consequences. You heard she just said that. But as far as I know, it takes two to tango. Now, it's been reported as a consensual relationship, which means why would the woman not also be held accountable for her actions? Why is Ime Udoka getting suspended and the woman is just getting off scot-free because she's a woman? That doesn't make much sense to me.
On all day.
Let's just
the
say it
fact
again.
that we are sitting here debating whether somebody else should have been suspended or not, we are not here, Stephen A., to further blame women. That is not why we are here.
I don't get it. Like they were both adults consenting, so it's like why do we know his name? He's getting a year suspension, and her name is being protected. She is apparently facing no consequences, as we know so far. So it's just like this crazy double standard. Now, what she just said there is she said, we are not here to blame women. Watch how Stephen A. responds masterfully.
First of all, let me be very clear. I don't appreciate where you're going with that. I'm not blaming anybody but Ime Udoka. He deserves. The fact of the matter is, I've said he deserved to be fired if they were going to fire him. If you're not going to fire him, then don't fire him. My issue is all of this being publicized. The point that I'm trying to make is just like you're not mentioning. Excuse me. I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening.
So that's exactly it. He let her go off uninterrupted for her entire 2-minute rant, and she's interrupting him 10 seconds into his response. And I like the fact that he put her in her place right here and just was like, yo, because this is what you should do to people in general. Like, you go, then I go. We take turns. That's what's supposed to happen here.
I listened to you. You're the one telling me to stop on my show. It ain't happening. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I've already said he deserves to be fired, or he deserves to be there and handle it internally and privately. If you're not going to handle it privately, if you're going to publicize it in that fashion, then obviously it provokes everybody wanting to know, okay, well, who are the parties involved? When you have Amina Smith in Boston and other women pointing out the fact that there were women who were wrongly implicated in all of this, it's a disservice to them. I didn't come out with the report about a consensual relationship. I didn't come out with the report ahead of time leaking that they were going to suspend him for the year. They did that. And my point is, considering how pervasive this kind of stuff has existed in professional sports for many years, my whole point is that, excuse me, make sure that you handle it in the same fashion it has always been handled. You could have fired him, and then we could have speculated till the cows come home, but he's gone. But to keep him there, keep him employed, but in the same breath, suspend him for a year, then also that year is indefinite. That is the issue that I have. Nobody's trying to protect Ime Udoka, and certainly nobody is trying to protect, to excoriate the women involved or anything like that. I'm talking about how things of this matter are usually handled from an HR perspective, from an organizational perspective. That is not consistent with what we have seen throughout the years. That is the only point that I was trying to make. I'm not trying to attack anybody. And if anybody deserves to be attacked, it's Ime Udoka for putting himself in this position. I've made that very clear. I'm just talking about you got owners and everybody else. They know the kind of stuff that's going on. You didn't say anything about anybody else. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about them. They didn't say anything about everybody else all the other times this stuff has happened. But now when it comes to him, it's all over the place. That is my issue. That is my only issue.
I appreciate that clarification. And I think that getting back to Molly's initial question, that is what stood out to me from the press conference. My reaction to the press conference.
I love how her tone just completely got knocked down a few notches. If you listen to her early on, she was so aggressive sounding. Listen.
The way first. But to answer your question, Molly, I think what stood out to me, I think what stood out to me, my reaction to the press conference, and I appreciate you clarifying that, Stephen A., is that the only thing that was made clear to me in this is that we are missing a key piece of information here. That is my reaction to the press conference.
Obviously, random women getting.
So there you go. I like the fact that Stephen A. Smith basically put her in her place. Not because she's a woman. I'm talking about the argument she brought up. It was a very, very silly argument that had no place here. And I like the fact that he kind of like shut that shit down immediately. You know, no one's blaming women, but it does take two to tango. It does take two to tango. And let's play the other clip. This is between Kendrick Perkins. He's a former NBA player. He, I believe he's very close to the Boston Celtics because he did play for the Celtics. I think he won a championship with them with the Big Three: Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. And yeah, this is really interesting.
Well, one thing, Zach, that you touched on was just this gross focus on identifying unnecessarily women's names that may or may not be involved. And I think it is it isn't too harsh to say that that was a failure by many people, including folks within our own industry. And Brad Stevens actually addressed that today. I want everyone to take a listen.
We have a lot of talented women in our organization, and I thought yesterday was really hard on them. And I think that, nobody can control Twitter speculation and rampant. But I do think that we, as an organization, have a responsibility to make sure we're there to support them now, because a lot of people were dragged unfairly into that.
I want to bring in our NBA analyst, Kendrick Perkins, into this conversation because, Perk, you played for the Celtics organization. What were your thoughts on this message here?
Well, one, to me, I didn't like Brad's comments on this, and let me explain why. Not the fact that he was taking up and protecting the women in the organization, but he said about the speculations and the Twitter BS and things to that nature, and how unfair it was to the women in the organization that is not involved with this particular situation. And I get that, right? But why is it speculations? It's speculations because of the reports that were put out by the actual Boston Celtics. So they didn't do a great job from the jump of actually protecting the women in their organization, because knowing that they were going to sit up here and give out this information and go out here and suspend Ime Udoka and talk about, just give a little details, it's going to have people speculating. And in my eyes, I feel like the Boston Celtics dropped the ball, not only in protecting their entire franchise, but in protecting the women as well. They should have made sure that they crossed their T's and dotted their I's before they put this information out. And I get it. Now we're to this point, and now he had to go on here and he had to say this and he had to say that to protect those innocent women. But at the end of the day, man, it just ain't right how they went about it. The word accountability, okay? Accountability doesn't just go to Ime Udoka, okay? Accountability goes to the other people that played a part in that as well. Let me tell you another thing I didn't like about my good friend Wick Grossbeck and Brad Stevens in this press conference when they asked, is anybody else going to be punished? And they said no. And my whole thing is this, right? These are some of the facts that have been out. These are some facts that I know that, this relationship, one of these relationships that was had with Ime Udoka and one of these women, it was consensual, meaning that this woman actually played a part in it too. So my thing is, yes, Ime Udoka was wrong. We get that. His punishment, he deserved that, and whatever else follows, I hate it for him, but he put himself in this position. But why are the other people getting left off the hook?
Well,
that's the problem that I have right now. Everybody got to be held accountable.
What did he say that's so wrong there? What did he say that's so wrong there? He just said everyone's got to be held accountable, both people involved in the relationship, if it was consensual. Now, if it wasn't consensual, that's a whole different story. And that could be, obviously criminal charges can be involved, kind of like what happened to Harvey Weinstein. If it's not consensual and he was simply using his power to take advantage of other people, you can make an argument that he did something, wrong. But from everything we have, it was two adults, one married, from my understanding, him in a long-term relationship with Nia Long, making a decision to have some extra marital or extra relationship, whatever you want to call that, fun. So let's go watch her reaction now after he finishes up.
I hate it for him, but he put himself in this position. But why are the other people getting left off the hook?
Well,
that's the problem that I have right now. Everybody got to be held accountable.
I think that we need to circle back to what Shanae said, is that there was an investigation that was conducted by an independent law firm here. And I think that transparency is what will rule the day here. And so without having all of the information, it is unfair and irresponsible of us to go and to speculate on that, because what we have to...
Well, I'm not speculating. Sure. I have the information. I'm not speculating.
But what we have to go with here is the fact that...
Do you guys hear that? Kendrick Perkins just said, I have the information. I'm not speculating. So obviously, Kendrick Perkins probably knows who the person is, the woman. He knows more about this than we do. And so what he's basically saying is, having known all the facts, she should also be held accountable for her actions and her role in the relationship. And he's absolutely right. He is absolutely right what he said there, assuming he does have all the facts.
I'm not speculating.
But what we have to go with here is the fact that an independent law firm came in, did this investigation, and the facts that they were presented, they came to the conclusion that Ime Udoka violated a policy that warranted a 1-year suspension.
But if he violated the policy, then that means the woman also violated the policy.
I share your frustration with the lack of transparency, while understanding that there is some things that they need to, from a legal perspective, keep private. But knowing all of that, understanding all of that, we have to come to the conclusion that whatever rule, the conduct that was broken on one side, it is not the same on the other side. I think.
What? Why is it not the same? Why is it not the same? It's so bizarre, because these lefties always talk about men and women are equal. But then when it comes to this, she's like, now it's not the same. Now the man, according to her, it sounds like, is deserving of losing his career, being publicly destroyed, losing his relationship, probably losing access to his kids, probably going to have to do split custody, whatever they're going to do. But the woman, no one knows her name, no punishment, no accountability, just a silent offender who is innocent of all crimes. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Watch, by the way, I want you guys to watch, once she finishes her little lefty rant here, how she treats Kendrick Perkins. Watch this.
Perspective, keep private, but knowing all of that, understanding all of that, we have to come to the conclusion that whatever rule, the conduct that was broken on one side, it is not the same on the other side. I thank you for your perspective.
Then she just shuts him down, doesn't even let the guy respond, just says, I thank you for your perspective, and then switches the segment. This is exactly what leftists do, and this is what we see all the time. Like, even when I go out and do my videos on the street, and I try to engage these people in good faith, by the way, mind you, they just walk away. They just end the conversation. They don't want to actually get involved in any kind of debate or spirited debate, because they don't have much to stand on. They don't have much of an argument. And we see this literally right over here. I want to just play that one more time and really watch all the other people on the show, their faces. It's kind of hilarious.
But knowing all of that, understanding all of that, we have to come to the conclusion.
Look at this guy on the left. I actually like him as a sports commentator, but look at how he's just like nodding his head in agreement with everything she's saying.
We have to come to the conclusion.
Look at that. It's as if he's saying, oh, this girl she's right. She's so right. I'm on her side. Oh my God.
Ending all of that, we have to come to the conclusion that whatever rule, the conduct that was broken on one side, it is not the same on the other side. I thank you for your perspective.
I also hate the way this woman is like speaking with that like patronizing woke corporate language. I understand your perspective. It's like that's what I was in a diversity meeting at like a corporation as a brown person, and I was just like pointing out how wrong critical race theory is and how putting color of skin over merit or character is not good for the long-term success of a company. And then they would literally use this exact tone to me. I understand your perspective and I thank you for your time. Basically what she's saying is go F yourself. I don't really care about your perspective, nor do I want to hear it at all. So those two videos I saw yesterday, I thought that was like super interesting, seeing this woke leftist going against Stephen A. Smith, who, by the way, Stephen A. Smith is also a leftist, to be clear. But there's also sometimes when common sense shines through, and I think with Stephen A. Smith, some common sense there did shine through. Stephen A. Smith, I'm going to show another clip of him about, is this the one? There's a few clips where Stephen A. Smith basically goes off on Kyrie Irving for choosing to get unvaccinated. And it just goes to show, here we go. Maybe I think this might be it.
What's your reaction to Kyrie's message?
Well, I think it's all over the place. But I want to make sure I take the position, and producers, leave Kendrick Perkins and Jay Williams up on the screen because I want to see them when I'm talking to them, and I'm talking to America here. You know, Jay and I, first of all, Jay and I are fine for those fools out there that think we got a problem. They don't realize we brothers. They don't understand. You understand?
Always.
So we can have disagreement,
Always.
but we good. Here's the thing that people are not getting, and I want to make sure that I'm clear about. I am no anti-vaxxer. I have been vaccinated. Jay's been vaccinated. I think Kendrick Perkins, I know you have. And we all believe you should get vaccinated. But I am no anti-vaxxer. Let me be very, very clear about that. I have an issue with Kyrie Irving. And by the way, as I tried to say yesterday, but I'll say today, it ain't about the vaccine. It's about what I label to be his selfishness when it comes to being a teammate of Kevin Durant, James Harden, and the rest of the crew with the Brooklyn Nets. That is the issue for me. If you don't want to take the vaccine, that's your choice. You are absolutely right. It's a personal choice, and it's other people's choice to react whatever way they want to. I choose to focus on a couple of things here. Kyrie Irving has been in this league for damn near 10 years, if I remember correctly, about 10 years now. He's played over 70 games 3 times. This is the same Kyrie Irving that got hurt before the global pandemic became official, essentially, and before the season was brought to a halt. When the season was scheduled to resume in a bubble, he was a vice president in a players association who had encouraged people not to participate in play in Orlando in the bubble. But he did so on his own without talking to CP3 and them and letting them know what his position was going to be publicly. They had to find out like the rest of us. He didn't play then. Then he's gone, so you take into account he got hurt and had only played 20 games. He got hurt, season gets halted. What does he do? He comes back 10 months later, 10 months after the season was resumed in December. Another season, started in December. And 2 weeks in, 7 games into the season, Kyrie Irving needs a break, disappears for personal reasons, initially didn't tell the coach or anybody else, okay? Knew he was supposed to come back, got caught partying with his sister, you understand what I'm saying? And at a party, all right, where you were exposed to all of that contact tracing and stuff like that, where KD even had to be pulled from some games because accidentally or whatever, they found that he could have potentially been exposed. So you had all of these things going on. My point is transition that to where we are now. And where we are now is yet another reason why Kyrie Irving isn't playing basketball. KD is in Brooklyn because of you. James Harden, to a lesser degree, is in Brooklyn because of you. You helped bring these brothers together. And that's where I'm coming from. It is my belief. I'm not trying to say forget the vaccine because I understand that's a part of this discussion again. But what I'm focusing on and what I want people to know that I'm focusing on about Kyrie Irving is I believe you helped assemble all of this and you've left these dudes hanging yet again. Now, we can sit up there and say this has nothing to do with everything else that's going on in this.
See, the thing that bothers me is that he's obviously upset at Kyrie Irving and thinks that Kyrie Irving's selfish for being unvaccinated. Kyrie Irving's not the issue here. It was the mandates that's the issue here. So Stephen A. Smith should not be upset at Kyrie Irving because obviously earlier in his rant he said, when it comes to the vaccine, it's your body, your choice. He said that. So if that's what you really believe, then why would you be upset for Kyrie, making his choice? You should be upset at the mandates put in place that forced him not to play.
Fair enough. But the one consistent common denominator that is inescapable is A, Kyrie Irving is a distraction. B, it usually involves him missing time on the job, which he signed up to do, which he encouraged other people to do, which he's getting $35 million a year to play. These are all the things that I'm pointing to. And that's where I want to go from there before we even get into what he said last night. Floor is y'all's.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing, right? We all have our rights and everybody have the freedom to do whatever they want with their body. But Stephen A., you made one word stand out to me just now. Clear. And you have certain people that go on here and say, you know what? Kyrie Irving is a version of Colin Kaepernick. No, the hell he's not. Because Colin Kaepernick made it very, very clear where he stands, okay, or where he stood for us with the NFL. I don't know what
he didn't stand. He actually kneeled.
Kyrie Irving stands. He's all over the place, as you would say. But I'm going to tell you this. I'm watching the IG Live. I'm watching some of the former brotherhood, NBA brotherhoods, and they saying, go Kyrie. Oh, yeah, you're doing the right thing. I stand with Kyrie. But guess what? It's another brother that's in the NBA, that's in Minnesota, that lost 6 family members, including his mama, God rest her soul, by the name of Karl Anthony Towns. And he made it very, very clear to everybody where he stood with this vaccination. And he told people, go get vaccinated. You want to know something? When I saw what Karl Anthony Towns went through, that's what made me choose a side. And my thing is with Kyrie Irving, yes, it is your body. But tell me, what are you standing for? Make it clear to me. Because watching the IG Live yesterday, it wasn't clear. And it's not clear to this day. It's still not clear today as we wake up. It's murky. As Molly just said, it's murky. So I'm not telling the man what to do. I'm saying, give us some clarification. And by the way, the media, right? The media, oh man, y'all always want to point me out. You're a superstar, Kyrie. When you sign up to go to the NBA, you sign up for the media. Media comes with it. We applaud you when you stand on the front line and you do things in the community. Of course, if you don't get vaccinated, it's going to be a story and we're going to talk about it. Hello, you are in the NBA. This is part of it. So just me personally, look, Kyrie can do whatever the hell he wants with his body. All I'm saying was that it wasn't clear, and it's still not clear. I don't know where he stands, and I don't know what he's trying to accomplish.
Thanks for watching.
It's crazy. Crazy times. And then I want to play for you guys Jonathan Isaac. Let's see. See if I can find this real quick.
Thank you.
So I met him also. I bought his book. He's got a book out. I bought it. I actually, when I met him at the Reawaken America tour, I bought the book right in front of him. I went on Amazon, had it all queued up. And then when I shook his hand and took our photo together, I said, hey, man, just to let you know, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm buying the book right in front of you. So I pressed place order in front of him, and he, shook my hand and appreciated that. So I have the book. I think it's in my car right now. I have a few books in my car that I just keep in the trunk. Um, what's the name of his book? Let me just look this up. Jonathan Isaac book. Why I Stand. That's the name of his book. And another cool thing about Jonathan Isaac was Jonathan Isaac standing. He was during the BLM protests. He was the only player that did not wear a Black Lives Matter shirt on his team and did not kneel, and he stood for the flag. Look at this. So, in a lot of ways, this guy is the opposite of Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick apparently, has a lot of issues with the U.S. and does not want to stand for the flag. He wants to get on his knee and protest. And early on, I believe he was the only one doing that. So Colin Kaepernick, first time kneeling. Let's see if we can find a photo of him. Images. Yeah, so early on, he was like the only guy kneeling. And then his teammates started to join him as he kept up his peaceful protest. But meanwhile, Jonathan Isaac was the opposite. While the rest of his team was kneeling for Black Lives Matter, he was the only player standing up for the flag. So I have a lot of respect for him for going against the sheeple, going against the narrative. And I wanted to watch his interview right here about why he chose to be unvaccinated. It's powerful stuff.
Jonathan, Jamie Say, WKMG. I'm wondering if you can comment on the Rolling Stone article and your comments that appeared on that about you not getting a vaccination, why you don't want to get a vaccination, and were you misquoted in that article?
I would start by saying that I was pretty badly misrepresented in the Rolling Stone article, and because of that, I can understand anyone who may say they don't transparently or overtly trust the media. In a frustrated tweet yesterday, I had noted that true journalism was dying. And to that, I would say that I appreciate every single one of you, those that try their best to correctly share the thoughts, the ideas, and the heart of the people that they're asking questions of. I'm not anti-vax. I'm not anti-medicine. I'm not anti-science. I didn't come to my current vaccination status by studying Black history or watching Donald Trump press conferences. I have nothing but the utmost respect for every healthcare worker and person in Orlando and all across the world that have worked tirelessly to keep us safe. My mom has worked in healthcare for a really long time. I thank God, I'm grateful that I live in a society where vaccines are possible and we can protect ourselves and have the means to protect ourselves in the first place. But with that being said, it is my belief that the vaccine status of every person should be their own choice and completely up to them without bullying, without being pressured, or without being forced into doing so. I'm not ashamed to say that I'm uncomfortable with taking the vaccine at this time. I think that we're all different. We all come from different places. We've all had different experiences and hold dear to different beliefs. And what it is that you do with your body when it comes to putting medicine in there should be your choice, free of the ridicule and the opinion of others.
Jonathan, Josh Robbins with The Athletic. Hesitant to get it.
I would start with I've had COVID in the past, and so our understanding of antibodies, of natural immunity has changed a great deal from the onset of the pandemic and is still evolving. I understand that the vaccine would help if you catch COVID, and you'll be able to have less symptoms from contracting it. But with me having COVID in the past and having antibodies with my current age group and physical fitness level, it's not necessarily a fear of mine. Taking the vaccine, like I said, it would decrease my chances of having a severe reaction, but it does open me up to the, albeit rare chance, but the possibility of having an adverse reaction to the vaccine itself. I don't believe that being unvaccinated means infected, or being vaccinated means uninfected. You can still catch COVID with or not having the vaccine. I would say, honestly, the craziness of it all in terms of not being able to say that it should be everybody's fair choice without being demeaned or talked crazy to doesn't make one comfortable to do what said person is telling them to do. Yeah, I would say that's a couple of the reasons that, I would say I'm hesitant at this time, but at the end of the day, I don't feel that it is, anyone's reason to come out and say, well, this is why or this is not why. It should just be their decision. And, loving your neighbors, not just loving those that agree with you or look like you or move in the same way that you do. It's loving those who don't.
Jonathan, a couple follow-ups on that. Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel. I'm sure you've probably been vaccinated for some other stuff, measles, things like that. What's the difference between that and this? And also, how do you feel about the more stringent protocols for unvaccinated players in the NBA?
When it comes to other vaccines, I think it's pretty simple. Or really taking any, modern medicine. I think that too should be your free choice. If I had to take anything when I was a kid, it was the free choice of my parents or whether or not to give it to me. And yeah, I'm not anti-science. I'm not anti-modern medicine. If I get sick enough, I'm going to the doctor. If my current, if my wife, when we do have kids, I'm not going to deliver the baby myself. I'm going to take it to the hospital. And so it really does come down to just, believing that it's a free right of us as individuals to take it or not. And then when it comes to the NBA and them having, restrictions or rules in place, the NBA is free to make those decisions. And I, as a member of the NBA, would follow suit with whatever protocol is set before us. My only point would be, and it was pointed to in the article, but still not in the way that, I refer to it. If the NBA is to give us regulations like we can't, maybe sit at the same part of the plane as the other players or eat in the same room as the other players. My only, I guess, thought on that would be, I don't think it would logically follow for us to then play on the court and share the same ball and bump chest and do all those things. So if the NBA is going to do those things, I would honor it. But at the same time, I would ask that it doesn't seem logically consistent.
Okay, we have time for 3 more, so we're going to go to this group right here. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. During the pandemic, players had to wear their masks when they weren't on the court. So they're on the bench, masked. But when they're in the game, they're unmasked. When you're on your bench, yeah, you're sitting next to somebody, but you're not like sweating in their face. You're looking forward. When you're on the court playing with each other, you're just sweating everywhere, talking to each other, getting face to face, especially offense, defense. So it's just an example of the insane logical inconsistencies that we lived with for 2.5 years across this world. And, when I went internationally, when I was living in Mexico, I met a lot of people there from other countries. And a lot of people expressed to me that when the U.S. started bringing in all these mandates, they knew that the rest of the world was screwed because from their perspective, U.S. was supposed to be the land of the free. We were supposed to be the leaders in freedom and maintaining that for people. And so people were very disappointed when the U.S. had medical mandates. They assumed that the U.S. would be like Florida, kind of like, hey, thanks to science, we have all these vaccines available. Here's where you can get them. It's up to you. If they did that, for example, they didn't use the pressure system where, like in New York, you got fired, you couldn't go to the office, you were let go. If they didn't do that, if they didn't do those things, my guess, probably only about 45% of the country would have gotten a vaccine. I think 50% plus would have chosen to stay unvaccinated, is my guess. But the pressure tactics worked for a lot of people in the blue cities and states. And that's, it's kind of sad in a way that people could be bought so easily. I understand some people had families and they needed, the income to cover their bills. So my heart goes out to those people. But this is why it's important that you save money for a rainy day or you have multiple income streams. So that way, when someone tries to make you do something that you don't want to really do, you are now empowered not to have to do it. You know, the only reason why I could even have this YouTube channel is because I've just been, you know, pretty much living off of my own savings and investments for 6 years now. I've only done YouTube for about 2 years. But if I had a full-time job, I probably couldn't do this YouTube thing. I would have to keep my speech in line with the corporate oligarchs, with the woke left. I probably would still be a woke leftist, or I'd be a very silent, you know, Trump supporter, if anything. But the fact that I'm able to pay my bills without worrying about, you know, where my next paycheck's coming from, it allows me to be free. It allows me to make a choice. It allows me to say no to mandates. So that's the beauty of, you know, kind of being self-sufficient to a degree.
Because of your profession and just the environment in which you play, you have teammates that you're accountable to, your coaches you're accountable to. Do you feel that internal pressure just to make sure that you're available to play games? Do you feel that internal pressure to get the vaccine? And is that something that maybe could be compelling enough to you down the road to get the vaccine?
I would say that, you know, to me, I don't know how you all feel, but getting the vaccine is not the only way to protect the people around you. I think it's an option. I think it's a good option. You know, with anyone who's done it, I see as those who have decided to take it as people who have decided to take it. But there are other measures to be taken to protect the people around you, like all of you are wearing masks, even though I'm sure all of you are vaccinated. You know, being socially distant, or being wise about washing your hands, or all the things that the CDC and other people have told us to do to protect ourselves. So I believe that the vaccine is an option. I don't think it's 100% necessary to think about protecting the people around you.
Jessica Ely. No. Sorry. Jessica Ely with Fox 35. Just wondering, are you worried about this possibly impacting your team down the road when you guys, you know, travel to New York and travel to Brooklyn to play the Nets or the Knicks, because they do have that rule where you have to be vaccinated to play indoors?
I'm not sure if that rule regulates for opposing teams. I'm not sure. But I think, you know, for me, I'll just take everything in stride and figure out things as we move forward. I'm not setting.
I don't think it applied for visiting teams. I think it only applied for local players, which is more contribution to the clown world of this all. You know, I heard a story about Kyrie Irving. I don't know if you guys heard the story, but because he wasn't vaccinated, he couldn't play in his home games. So if he went to the arena, he would have to sit with his team in street clothes and wear a mask. So what he would do is he would buy courtside tickets to his own home games, sit in the audience courtside, so that he didn't have to wear a mask. How funny is that? What an epic troll. What an epic troll.
Stone, like I never said I was proudly unvaccinated. Even if I am, I'm not someone to come out and say that in any way. So I say I'll just take it in stride, and if it does come up or if there is any problems, I'll handle it when it comes.
Okay, Jonathan, Adam Shadow, Fox 35. Two parts here. What has been the reaction from your teammates to this news? And I know you're a deeply religious person, a man of faith. How much, if at all, did that play into this decision, or your thinking at all?
When it comes to my teammates, coaches, everybody, to be honest, no one has really cared. I haven't had any conversations with teammates on whether or not I'm vaccinated or not, or whether or not they are vaccinated or not. When it comes to being religious, I think God calls us all to be wise. I think there are people who believe that Jesus is alive, that he's a protector, that he's a healer, that he's a friend that you can trust in before you trust in any man. And I'm not ashamed to say I'm one of those people. But at the end of the day, God calls us to be wise and lean to our own convictions on what it is that we want to do. And that's how I feel about the vaccine. Everyone should be free to make their own decision and choice. And I feel that God could be leading two different people in the same place in two completely different directions. And if their conviction is as a believer or as any faith that I decide to take the vaccine, then I'll stand with them. And if there's anyone who says, based on my belief or my conviction, I don't want to take it, I will be right there to stand with that person as well.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan.
What a great guy. I like Jonathan Isaac a lot. He's a man of faith, a man of conviction, and I have a lot of respect for him. He's awesome. All right, guys. That's going to be the show for today. Quick 46-minute episode. And yeah, so I'm going to do some videos this week for you guys. Maybe tomorrow, maybe Tuesday. I don't know yet. Finally, I'm getting some relief in my stomach. I don't think I ever took an oxycodone today yet, but I think I'm going to take one. I have 2 left. So I'm going to take it so I can enjoy and relax. And I also do have a little pain, to be honest. And then, yeah, I'll be out of oxy until my next time I need it again. Who knows when that'll be? I hope it's not for a long time, because I like living pain-free. That I've mostly been for the past month. Been pain-free for about a month now. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll play the music for you guys today. Be free, my sheeple. God bless Trump.